question is, how could a civilization that didn't even have a wheel calculate that the sun would eclipse the center of the galaxy every 26,000 years?
That's me editing the last episode of Unearthed that we began producing almost a year ago, before my hospitalization. The show had become quite popular by that time. We were about to break the story that scholars had just confirmed that the Mayan calendar was due to end on October 28, 2011, as opposed to December 21st, 2012. So interest in the topic and in the show was about to spike globally, and we had the exclusive. It's now a year later, and my producer and I are trying to convince the network that I'm back to normal and to pick the show back up.
This is Unearthed.
The story goes that when the tall Spanish galleons of Cortez first approached shores, they were such an impossible vision in their reality that their deeply filtered perceptions couldn't register what was happening, and they literally failed to see the ships. These were the largest artifacts ever seen, objects so huge, complex, and unfamiliar that they defied comprehension. When smaller boats began to move toward the shore, Shaman stared out to sea, and only by imagining what he was looking for, was finally able to make out the tall ships. He was then able to point them out to others, until at last, everyone could see the ships. Shaman could do this because he alone was open to the possibilities, strange things from other worlds.
In breaking news, Dr. Emmett Archer, host of ITV's Unearthed, and wife Miriam Archer were involved in a serious single-car accident north of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Miriam Archer was pronounced dead at the scene. Dr. Emmett Archer was taken to St. Vincent Hospital and is said to be in stable condition. Authorities are still investigating the cause.
Millions of fans of the wildly successful ITV program Unearthed expressed glee today via webcast and emails upon the news of the release of Dr. Emmett Archer from a psychiatric hospital in Denver, Colorado.
First of all, welcome back to ITV. How are you feeling? Well, good. Thank you. Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back. I'm feeling good, healthy, ready to get the show back on the air as soon as our network gives us the go. So now, before we get to the show, authorities determined that you may have been driving well over the speed limit at the time, thus responsible for the tragic accident. No, that's not accurate. No, I'm not responsible for the accident. It was probably coyote or debris in the road that I was trying to avoid, but no, I'm not responsible. Okay, well, let's get to the show. Will you be doing something new, or will you keep the ongoing series?
This is Emmett Archer. Leave me a message. I'll call you back as soon as I can.
Good morning, Dr. Archer. This is Jeff from Black Forest Lawn Cemetery. Your gravestones have arrived. You can come take a look ahead of time. Otherwise, we'll be waiting for you for the unveiling. Thank you, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Baleth, what's going on?
Emmett, you want the good news or the bad news first?
Give me the bad.
Well, the network called. They're giving us 6 episodes to start. They're taking a wait-and-see position on the series. They want to be sure that you're back on your game, as it were.
Simeon Baleth, my producer. He's an artful man, almost Svengali-esque, when he's not just downright unethical. But the show is all he has, really, and so when I was hospitalized last year, he almost lost everything. He was even brought up on charges by Interpol for some missing artifacts in Turkey. Like I said, he is a producer.
Okay, what's the good news?
Get this. There's a Hopi shaman in northern New Mexico who claims he has a 16th century Spanish morion. So you, want me to authenticate it? Shoot an episode? Emmett, you don't understand. The morion has the insignia of Hernan Cortez Pizarro himself.
Jesus.
Yes, I know. It's incredible.
There were only 6 of those ever forged. The only other one anywhere is at Del Prado in Madrid.
Yeah, that's the only other one. It's the only other one there is.
There are 3 kinds of artifacts. The first kind is so old that it requires carbon dating and ends up under glass in some museum to stave off disintegration. The second kind is so new that it lands on the auction block at Sotheby's, then in some private collection for bragging rights. And then there's the third kind. Not so old that it can't be authenticated, but old enough to be priceless. Unless, of course, the buyer can afford priceless. The Morion of Cortez falls into this third category. But I was so consumed with preparing for my comeback episode that I couldn't see the intrigue building around it.
And UNM has that Conquistador exhibit.
There's more. The shaman said that this helmet has been passed from Kachina to shaman 48 times. The next time it's passed will be the beginning of the 5th world, or whatever that means.
What's their price on this?
They won't sell it to anyone. And believe me when I tell you, there are people in this business who would pay or do anything to get their hands on this Morion. And because it's been in the shamanic line for over 400 years, it's never been authenticated. And so it's not protected under the Antiquities Act, if you get my meaning. And there's one more thing. I sent Tovar to get shots of it for you to examine, but they turned him away. The shaman will only meet with you alone. Really? He said that. You'll need to get to the Pueblo by this afternoon, or we'll lose the exclusive. It's a magnificent find, and it will make for a tremendous comeback episode, Emmett. I've sent over directions, and we'll call you en route with more details. Talk to you later.
Want to play chess?
No. We've got an appointment with Dr. Kamen this morning, and then I've got to head down to Taos for a couple of days. So you'll stay with Lucy.
Carlo, are you back in Santa Fe now?
Yes, sir.
Our buyer is confirmed. Is the replica ready?
Almost.
Tell him to hurry. You'll need to take it directly to the Pueblo. Wait for Emmett, then follow him to the real one. And Carlo?
Yes, sir.
Emmett must not return. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I'm good. I might have to cut this a little short because I've got to head down to Taos.
Okay, well then why don't we pick up where we left off last time? And that was that we have 2 anniversaries coming up. One is, most importantly, your wife's unveiling. And the other is that you will no longer be required by the hospital to come see me. So, so regarding the unveiling, are you starting to mentally prepare?
Frankly, I haven't had a whole lot of time to think about it. I mean, work's been very busy.
I can't tell if these mandated grief counseling sessions have helped, but Sarah still insists that there are aspects to my loss that I'm not seeing. She calls it perceptual blindness, but there is one thing that I've become more aware of over the past year, and that's how readily available symbols and archetypes are in my field of view at any given moment, as if amplifying my experiences. Take, for instance, the statue of Shiva behind Sarah. Shiva, the destroyer of the world. A subtle death archetype, perhaps, but at peace. And then there's the phonetic connection with Shiva, Judaism's week-long period of mourning the dead. The search for these connections in the mythological realms has become as alluring to me as digging for artifacts in the physical world. So how can I be seeing all of these deeper connections and still have the perceptual blindness?
One goal specifically that you had was about Jack, and to make sure he was moving on properly after the death of his mother, and that he was going to be strong and move on the way a child should.
Well, you know, kids are very resilient.
Well, in my profession, I agree with that. I think children are resilient, but I've also seen what childhood trauma can do, and it's really up to the surviving parent to kind of bridge that gap and make sure that you're doing what you can to help him move on properly.
I think him seeing me get back into things and kind of keeping up that routine has been probably key in helping him move on, I would think.
He hasn't really been playing chess or talking about my
What do we have,
mom.
another session or two left, and the unveiling's in a couple of weeks, and
Are you prepared for that?
you know, the spot is all set and flowers are all ordered, and I haven't contacted anyone yet. I've got to let people know when that'll be, but haven't really talked to much of anybody in the last year, so I don't know, maybe it's just a personal event for Jack and me.
Try and mentally prepare. This is going to be a milestone for you. It's going to be a milestone for Jack, and this is some important planning that needs to be done. And you need to heal, and you need to, this is going to...
We're dealing. We dealt with it. It's over. It's done. The unveiling will, you know, put it behind us, and we'll move on. Jack has really gotten into chess lately. He's really good. He's actually checkmated me a couple of times without my being prepared for it. I used to have to let him win, and now he can win on his own. So that's been good. I think that's been just him exercising his mind that way has been another way of dealing with this and getting beyond it. And I think we're ready to do that.
Look, Emmett, it's almost been a year, and there's still a very big aspect to your loss that you're just not seeing because you're unable to emotionally accept it. But I need you to accept this on your own when you're ready.
Emmett, yeah, what's up? Carlo can't make it to town. He'll come the next morning and get it. On film.
That's fine. I'm on my way.
I would later learn that the Morion of Cortez is an archetype of death itself, although, unlike Shiva, this archetype was not at peace. Quite the contrary. Aztec priests had placed a curse on it that would mar history until the end of the galactic day, which is in about 3 weeks.
Carlo, are you back in Santa Fe now?
Yes, sir.
Our buyer is confirmed. Is the replica ready?
Almost.
Tell them to hurry. You'll need to take it directly to the Pueblo. Wait for Emmett, then follow him to the real one. Carlo?
Yes, sir.
Emmett must not return. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Emmett must not return. Do you understand?
hope you expect the global revelation of this Morion to fulfill a prophecy and help usher in the fifth world, but as an archaeologist who used to pitch for grant money, I know that unless people can marvel at the helmet with their naked eye, it won't gain much attention, and the shaman won't let it go. So I guess his hope is that a special episode of Unearthed would be enough to fulfill the prophecy, but I'm not so sure.
I'm in the temple of Kukulkan, atop this massive pyramid in Chichen Itza. Before the Aztecs created what we now think of as the Mayan calendar, it was this massive structure that acted as a three-dimensional calendar. So what does it mean when we say the end of the Mayan calendar, or the end of the galactic day? Well, it's not the end of a calendar system only. What it does is calculate, and quite precisely, the exact date that our sun will eclipse the center of our galaxy. That is, every 26,000 years, our whole solar system completes a cycle, which puts the sun between us and the center of the Milky Way. So the big question is, will this have little or no effect or no noticeable effect on us? Or will it have a big enough effect to shift the poles of this massive iron sphere magnet that we live on?
Excuse me. Excuse me.
The mountain. Very deep. But try not to read too much into it.
Oh, honey, I love this song. Turn it up.
Although I am more aware now of the archetypes and synchronicities around me, I am suddenly beset by an anxious awareness, like I've forgotten something. Perhaps it's just this broad, ancient Anasazi landscape that's sifting out my distractions, keeping me from not thinking about Miriam. Well, whatever it is, it's gotten me lost again. Very rare to see another soul out here at all, but today I've happened upon two, and just when I needed them. Funny how that happens. His name is Dakota, and he's been walking for weeks on some kind of pilgrimage to this territory. Said he wanted to be here in time for what he called the Great Turning, or what we're calling the end of the galactic day. He immediately recognized me from the show, and said that I was the reason he was here. Turns out our episodes on the end of the Mayan calendar prompted him to leave everything behind and come here. But as strangely coincidental as it was to meet me here, in the middle of nowhere, he didn't seem at all surprised. It was almost as if he was expecting me. So we talked for a long time about how the synchronicities seem to be increasing lately, or at least becoming more apparent. Now, I'm an archaeologist, so I tend to look at things empirically. To me, our sun eclipsing the center of the galaxy is just another astronomical event. Fascinating, sure, and only happens once every 26,000 years, but completely natural. So I was shocked to learn about the upheaval that our little internet show has caused over the past year. I mean, between Miriam's death, my own hospitalization, and now rebuilding this show, I never gave any thought to how the material was affecting the viewers. Of According to Dakota, there are two major interpretations out there about this event. One is predictable, the apocalyptics who expect the world to end in 3 weeks. And then there are the folks like Dakota that see this as a very positive thing. Or as he put it, an unveiling. As I was getting up to leave, Dakota reminded me that this is Kachina season, and to be sure to mind my manners while up here. The literal meaning of Kachina is Lifebringer, but like many Buddhist deities, a Kachina can be anything from an element or a quality or even an event, but up here, there's a very strong sense of the Kachina as almost a sentient being, like a watcher. And in this area specifically, the Alpha Kachina seems to be Kokopelli, which is often referred to as the trickster. So while it's always a good idea to mind one's manners, in this area, it doesn't always help.
Hey, Emmett. Do me a favor. Take heed to some things you ain't looking at too closely. Take heed to some things you ain't looking at too closely.
Look, Emmett, it's almost been a year, and there's still a very big aspect to your loss that you're just not seeing, because you're unable to emotionally accept it. But I need you to accept this, on your own, when you're ready.
Authorities determined that you may have been driving well over the speed limit at the time, thus responsible for the tragic accident.
No, that's not accurate. No, I'm not responsible.
Excuse me. Hello again. Okay, this is gonna sound strange, but wasn't it you I saw back there about an hour ago? Asked you for directions?
Emmett's here. He's talking to someone. I'll follow him in.
In that direction, can you help me find it?
Conquistadors marched across the ancient Mayan Empire. Ever north, they rode in search of the 7 lost cities of gold, carrying with them the Morion of Cortez. With every slain child the Morion reflected, its curse grew.
Looks deserted. Is there anybody here? The air in here is intoxicating. Now, I don't know if it was the drive, the 3-hour hike, or if there really is spirit breath in these caves, but my mind is reeling. This shaman that my young friend is leading me to sure doesn't want to be found. Well, there it is.
Johnny, and
It's incredible. It shouldn't take too long at all at this guy to do some liquid tests. Do you mind if I sit down?
Jack, and to make sure he was moving on properly after.
Daddy,
Wake up, Emmett. If you're not seeing and on the way to it's almost been a year, and there's still a very big aspect to your life that you're just not seeing. You're not because you're unable to emotionally accept it. But I need you to accept this on your own when you're ready. Emmett, slow down. You're going too fast. Slow down, Emmett. You're going too fast.
I was wrong. There is a fourth kind of artifact. Like the others, these artifacts are man-made. But like the pottery shards the Anasazi use as mortar in their kiva walls, our shards are the unwanted or broken memories we use to build the walls around our souls, to protect us from ourselves, and to protect us from this responsibility. As the sun comes up, I suddenly remember why I'm here, and why the shaman asked for me alone.
Carlo can't make it to town. He'll come the next morning and get it.
Simeon didn't send Tovar to get the Morion on film. He sent him to get it, period. Just as they did in Turkey. And they've probably followed me here right to it. If they sell it on the black market, the world won't see it, and the prophecy won't be fulfilled. We need a plan.
We're in the Kiva. It's not here.
Come back, Christopher.
It's not here.
When smaller boats began to move toward the shore, the Mayan shaman stared out to sea, and only by imagining what he was looking for, was finally able to make out the tall ships.
Entonces dígame, ¿qué piensa usted? Parece la réplica bastante auténtica. Esto no es Mayan llevado frente a... En este caso, haga el ojo entrenado ciego.
Up next on C-SPAN, archaeologist Dr. Emmett J. Archer introduces the Moreon of Cortez to an audience at the Smithsonian Institute's National Museum of the American Indian. To then confirm that it was indeed created by the same Moreon smith that created the helmet that's on display. Well, needless to say, I escaped Simeon's team of thieves with the Moreon. Apparently, shooting from a helicopter is not as easy as you'd think. What's more, my young friend managed to grab the replica of the Moreon from Tovar's car during his escape. And the replica turned out to be a brilliant piece of work, actually, and with the help of Spain's leading artifact forger and 50,000 euros, it satisfies the public's need to marvel at something while they discuss its darker history. So the Hopi got their prophetic benchmark, and the genuine Moreon is now protected by the Antiquities Act and remains with the shaman. Simeon is on the run from Interpol again, and me? Well, my next expedition, well, I'm actually retiring now. You can't really top this, and besides, I have bigger challenges right now, and my first one is to beat my 8-year-old in chess. So that's where I'm at. So thank you.
Shouldn't you be in there?
Nah, it's okay. They're more interested in that Moreon than me.
Is that helmet really 400 years old?
One in there? One day.
Checkmate.
You're kidding. Alright, that does it. You're grounded.
Ah.
We should get inside. Looks like there's a storm coming.